I played a concert in here with Will McLean several years ago. And the only microphones were to tape the show for radio programming, because this place was great for acoustics. And I played all the early festivals where they had PAs and stuff. You had to be really loud because you didn't have a microphone to sing. But I'm not going to sing without one tonight because I just don't feel up to it. But I just want you to see that you could hear me without a microphone. Ooh. Sonny, are we in tune? Yeah, that's perfect. Doug Goss and I shared a lot of thoughts a year ago, January, when we lost Will. And we talked about how neither one of us knew any adult life without Will McLean in it. Will inspired a lot of people to play his music and to listen to his music and get the message out of it. And Will and Thelma Bolton, they had a habit of assigning you little tasks to do and things like that. And through the years, I started writing my own songs and playing those because I can't sing well enough in key to do somebody else's song when they're around. So I write my own, and that way nobody can tell me that they're not right. So I'm going to open with one that I guess is my trademark tune. It's my least favorite of all the songs I've written, but for Will, this is I'm in Florida. Need I say more? I guess I'm a little bit of everything. Seen so many flags unfurled. Someone still remembers. They come to see us from all over the world. I'm the Spanish moss hanging from the live oak tree. I'm what's left of the panther and the old manatee. I'm an eagle in flight and the ocean's roar. I'm in Florida, need I say more? I'm in Florida, need I say more? I'm the ghost of the Spaniard at the fountain of youth in old Augustine by the sea. Down around Brighton, I'm a Seminole Indian. Somehow through it all still walks free. I'm a sunburned face on that old Key West calm, watching hurricanes from down Rudolph Street. I'm a carving jumper down in Chugwalusky where the Gulf and the Everglades meet. I'm the coat of gray my great-grandfather wore when in the fields out of busted farm. From the roar of the Cumberland sun's mill at Lacucci, now it's vanished as the cypress they saw. Appalachia oyster, and I'm Crystal Springs. My cousin Thelma Bolton, and I'm Will McLean. Forest green, and I'm Golden Shores. I'm Florida, need I say more? I'm in Florida, need I say more? Weathered skin, the Arcadian cowboy riding fence on Mike's brother's herd, or canoe trip down to Miami where the gators still left undisturbed. Coral's still alive out in Hicks Brothers Bay, in a secret place that Ricky and I know. I'm the citrus getting ripe in the sunshine in Bennett Hill, Griffin's Frosted Road. So yeah. Water's once clear as a swimming pool. So fewer than there used to be, though it'll never be like yesterday. You can still catch a fish safe to eat, better hurry. Take a look around me, I'm sure you'll agree that Florida's the best of the land of the free. All of the good life right here that I know. I'm Florida, need I say more? I'm Florida, need I say more? I'm a Spaniard, and I'm a Frenchman, and I'm British, and I'm an Indian, I'm a forest, and I'm a swampland. I'm a repeat these for all men, proud as can be when I roll. I'm Florida, need I say more? I'm Florida, need I say more? Occidental Chemical offered up some money to make an album of Florida songwriters' songs about the Swanee River. And Will advised most of us that it was just a ploy, an attempt, have you, to cover up the fact that they wanted to mine the Swanee River basin and kill what's left of the river in Florida. So, I sat down and I wrote my song to contribute to the album that Occidental was going to pay for. Like I say, Will inspired a lot of us to write, and he was the kick. He was the big push. He's still the big push. And, you know, they always said Will's a daddy to all the Florida songwriters. When Margaret writes me, she always writes to the son of Florida Sand, because Will inscribed a book to me like that. Helped inscribe a lot of books to me. Like most of them the same book, but you know, they kept giving them to me. And he called me up to see if I had any of those books left. He had to give one to somebody. But I wrote my song about the Swanee, and I remember the year I did it on the stage at White Springs. I debuted it up there. Channel 5 was up from Gainesville to film everything and all that. And Occidental had a couple of their officers down there, and you know, they were going to just pump on this album. And they thought we were all going to be singing over there about how wonderful everything was, and they were going to go in there and tear the river up. Well, this is how the song went. And a couple people filed an injunction, and I sued Arm & Hammer, and you know, old Armin, you know, he had all the big lawyers, and hell, I'm just a cracker from down on Tampa Bay, but we whooped him. And I told him he wouldn't live to mine the Swanee River Basin, and in December, just before Christmas, hey, Arm & Hammer, assume room temperature. Merry Christmas. Yeah. And we know he's going to stay out of Florida now, because old Will's in the Ocklawaha and every Florida river there is. I can guarantee you that. And I saw to it that Will's in every Florida river. And I don't worry about Armin's ghost coming down here and stirring them back up again. But this is the way the song went. It starts off innocent enough at first. You'll see when they started to change their mind. Oh, the eventual outcome of this, they withdrew their offer. Not only did they not pay for us to make the album of Swanee River songs, they don't even send any of those tents over anymore to White Springs like they used to. And a lot of my brother and sister musicians said, you shouldn't have done something like that. That hurts it for everybody. I said, well, don't you want to do something with your music? Don't you want to make a difference? And they said, you know, you need to concentrate on that microphone in front of you, and don't worry with what's going on behind you or off to this side or off to that side, you know. Folks, it couldn't sell out like that, so here's the song. Up in the Georgia pines, where the waters first flow, down through White Springs, a place most of us know. Then it's on across Florida to the Gulf of Mexico, how the Swanee flows deep in my heart. Her natural beauty, always the same, such a treasure of this wondrous stream. As she wanders through legends, songs point to dreams, for the Swanee flows deep in my heart. What have we left for the ones that we're leaving? Perhaps some old memories they won't be believing. So maybe some snapshots that'll start them into grieving for the Swanee that flows deep in our heart. Will McLean sang about Florida sand. Don Grooms and James Billy about the Indian man. While me and Whitey Markle were still trying to make a stand for the Swanee that flows deep in our heart. God bless Cousin Thelma, she remembers back when the sweeter, cleaner water still flowed round the bend. The sun just a river, to us an old friend, is a Swanee that flows deep in our heart. What have we left for our sons and our daughters? Take lots of pictures, but don't drink the water. Occidental calls it progress, but the crackers call it slaughter of the Swanee that flows deep in our heart. I wish I could turn the clocks back before industrial parks and their factories stacked. For you mind the damn phosphates and the waters turn black, for the Swanee flows deep in my heart. What have we left for the ones that we're leaving? Have some old memories they won't be believing. Well, maybe some snapshots that'll start them into grieving for the Swanee that flows deep in our heart. What have we left for our sons and our daughters? We'll take lots of pictures, but don't dare drink the water. Occidental call it progress, but the crackers call it slaughter of the Swanee, of the Peace, of the apple pie, of the Hillsborough, of the Kissimmee. The yellow is Kentucky, Ocklawaha. All the Florida rivers flow so deep in my heart. Two songs. Is that what everybody's doing? 2 songs? No, 5 songs. Okay, 5 songs. You know, I hate war. Politicians get you into war and they make you think it's for this and that reason runs out, and so they make you think it's for something else, and before you know it, you don't know why they're fighting it, and the poor guy having to do the fighting, he doesn't know either because they didn't much ask him in the first damn place. He's just following orders. And like I say, I hate war, but I love soldiers. I do. And, you know, I was in a conflict 20 years ago. And I just want to see to it that we realize, you know, these people that fight these wars, I'm talking about the guy that really has to fight the war, he's following orders, and he's supposed to be carrying out the best interests of you and me. And if we have problems with this, let's not protest the soldier. Let's get down and vote and make a difference in the elections and stuff. But when you see one of those soldiers coming home, you know, let's treat them a little different than we treated the last batch that came home. All right? I mean it, because, you know, east of Naples, east of Jerome, Sawgrass hides a path you take back into his home. Standing there on Cypress, still it's all alone. Alligator poacher George Washington Jones, folks say he walks on the dark side of life. He wears a big gun and keeps a sharp knife. Ain't a woman mean enough for to be his wife. So he spends most nights alone. When you live in the swamp, you count on yourself. You don't expect nothing, nobody else. A man's paradise another man's hell, and you're easily misunderstood. Gather wood for the fire where the cypress meets the pines. To cook an alligator, make it taste so fine. Pick the wild berries, make some pretty good wine, and you wish you had it this good. There ain't but one judge in the woods. They say he had a family, but he has no more. Wife and kids both split when he come home from the war. 'Cause in his mind the mortars whine, how they roar, how they roar. Just another vet this country forgets and leaves alone. So he lives in the swamp with the gators and the snakes. That swamp's like a lover of your life, she can make or break. Give back a little something for every little thing you take. Given enough time, you'll find we'll do just fine on our own. So when you live in the swamp, you count on yourself. You don't expect nothing, nobody else. A man's paradise is another man's hell, and you're easily misunderstood. Gather wood for the fire where the cypress meets the pines. To cook an alligator, make it taste so fine. Pick the wild berries, make some pretty good wine, and you wish you had it this good. There ain't but one judge in the woods. One judge, that's all the vet asked for. No free ride, just one judge. While we stall here, I know I'm eating up a lot of time here, and everybody wants to know. Because I want you to play along with this. You know this part really good here. I make a lot of reference to drinking and everything when I'm on stage. If y'all notice, I'm a little tongue-tied up here tonight. Any of you know me personally know I quit drinking 10 years ago, January 1st. But a lot of my songs were written about an earlier time in my life when I did imbibe a little more readily than I do now. But I slipped a disc back 5 months ago, and it's still over there on top of the nerve, so I'm pretty drugged up here tonight. We didn't find out that Dawn couldn't make it till Sunday, so it was too late for Jenny to make plans to get off much earlier than, about quitting time, so it was quite a ride up here from Tampa. We didn't get to stop the usual 2 or 3 times for me to get out and stretch like we've had to since I got hurt, so that's why I'm tongue-tied and everything. Not at a loss for words, just can't talk. Don always tells me not to be so held back, that I ought to express myself. That's it. That's it. These are new strings too. I'm not even flipping things off yet. That doesn't make any difference. I got real cheap on strings. I got tired of buying them so expensive, so I started buying 600 sets at a time. And it takes me about a year to use up 200 sets. So when I get to the end of that, some of the strings are 3 years old. So, even though I change them every time I play, they just don't always last. So once I'm through this last 600 sets, Dave Thornton over in Pulaski, he's selling strings wholesale now to all his brother musicians. So I'll probably buy some fresher strings next time. I guess it's when the louder I get, the harder I punch these strings. I don't know if y'all remember that old guitar that had the big holes in the top of it or not. It was a Japanese guitar, and Doug Goss was real pleased that when I broke it, I got an American-made guitar. How's that sound? All right?
Sounds like something Japanese.
Can't you tell me an Indian joke?
We
It's a clean joke, folks. I knew the kids were going to be here. Now, come on, don't look at me like that. Not that Indian joke. Indian takes his wife in the psychiatrist, says, "Doc, look at wife." Doc looks at her, and says, "What's wrong?" She says, "I'm the teepee, I'm the wigwam, I'm the teepee, I'm the wigwam." The doc says, "I know your problem, you're too tense, all right?" Folks, don't wait for when you get it. It's no better when it finally dawns on you what it's in. That one didn't have nothing to do with it. Why does it got to be? That's probably why that one was busted, because we tried to tune it to that other one. Back to the drinking thing. I went through a divorce. Oh, I'll date the one for you. It was the one back in 1979. And I got a little crazy down at work one day, and they told me just to take off and go breathe a little air and go fishing or something to clear my head. So I went off on about a 6-week drunk in Northwest Florida. Just me, a guitar, a primer coat gray 1969 Ford Econoline, and a large amount of money. Hell, $20 or $30 at least. And I come upon this man, but that's in the song, so the name of the song is Breaking Jackson. It's about moonshine. For those of you not familiar with moonshine, drank a little bit of it, feel better than you ever had before, drank too much, feel worse than you ever will again. A man's lazy over around Melrose, he reckons moonshine unto autumn leaves. Says as you drink it, you turn colors and fall. Way up in Poland, Florida, not far from Alabama, was Breaking Jackson. He's a Florida backwoods man, and like 3 daddies come before him, makes his living off the land. Knows some old pine woods like the back of his callous hand. I was cruising old Highway 90 in the heat of a July day, when I seen old Jimmy broken down just east of Bonifay. I offered the driver up a ride, answered with a smile. Said it's a long way to Miller Crossroads, but I'll make it worth your while. I said I was on vacation, just out to clear my mind. I'd left my watch in Tampa, I wasn't pressed at all over time. Said Tampa's a long, long way from here, I've never been south of Harry. He stopped to take a sip from a pocket glass he carried. So he offers me that bottle, saying this here ain't store-bought, but it's good for what ails your tomorrow arthritis to hoop and call. So being the fool that I am, well, I takes a big old sip, then turns so as not to burn him with the flames coming from my lips, singing, sometimes it ain't so bad, sometimes it ain't so good. I takes it all in stride, cause my living's in the woods. Ain't got much crime or violence, we never had no drugs, but the moon comes through the pines and mason jars and gallon jugs. He said that's Jackson whiskey, couldn't make it in 100 years. I was trying hard to hear him through the buzzing in my ears. He said you gotta learn to sip it, son, or it sets you right on fire. I figured it's about 190 proof and it just don't get much higher. By now I was breathing normal again, in fact I was feeling fine. First time my sinuses have been clear since 1969. He started looking around my band, he noticed my guitar case. Said you have to do us a tune when we get out to my place. Said life is pretty busy with a wife and 7 kids, but I never had to look back twice on anything I did. So my family's needing something, I'm lacking a little cash. I just runs off in the pines and I runs to sour mash, singing, sometimes it ain't so bad, sometimes it ain't so good. I takes it all in stride, cause my living's in the woods. Ain't got much crime or violence, we never had no drugs, but the moon comes through the pines and mason jars and gallon jugs. was more just a place on the map than it was any kind of town. Might have been blindfolded for all the roads that led me down. Well, finally came the greatest place out in the old pine woods. I realized that in 100 years the Jacksons had done good. Asked if he could read my mind, he said I'd better explain. We got a lot of money when they needed this land for the train, but Daddy never let it change him claim the man he's worked for a living. Who could want anything more than what this land's been given? So we put some money on back in case kids ever want to get away. Good enough for my dad is good enough for me, so I just reckon I'll stay singing. Sometimes it ain't so bad, sometimes it ain't so good. That takes it all in stride, cause my living's in the hood. Ain't got much ground to buy, man, we never had no drugs. We'll come through the pines and mason jars and gallon jugs. I stayed with them almost a week. By then I could understand why a man with $1 million still scratch a living from the band. He had 7 kids that loved him, his wife set the table well. I can't have got any better than this, then God would have kept it for himself, singing. Sometimes it ain't so bad, sometimes it ain't so good. That takes it all in stride, cause my living's in the wood. Ain't got much crop or violence, we never had no drugs. But the wind comes through the pines and mason jars and gallon jugs. Way up in northern Florida, not far from Alabama. This great Jackson, he's a Florida backwoods man. Like 3 daddies come before him, makes his living off the land. Minds his own damn business, but he'll help you if he can. So we've got one more. One more. So this one better be a good one. You know, there's a bond between all Florida songwriters that write about Florida, I'm talking about. Because when you choose that market, it's not a real big commercial market, so your music's not going to go much further than southern Georgia at best. Now, Will had the uncanny talent of unpromotion, self-promotion. He would downplay himself sometimes to where people got interested, and he'd pump them up, and they'd go off and spread his music everywhere. Pete Seeger did it on stage, did Osceola's Last Word just about every stage he'd ever been on. And Pete Seeger never got closer to Florida than Atlanta that he didn't start singing Osceola's Last Words with an introduction about Will McLean being a real songwriter. And of course Pete sent a telegram when Will died. But after they had the memorial service here January last year, that afternoon a lot of us met down on the Ocklawaha at Gore's Landing. It's a beautiful place on the river down there, and you can camp for free if you don't stay too long. And Will used to stay down there. And see, that's the thing about Will doing those songs. You know, there's a lot of people out there writing songs about things that they've just never done. And that's all right. But Whitey will tell you, eventually the truth's going to tell on you, and you got to leave the songs alone, you know. So there's just, I'm proud that when I sing about fishing, I know how to fish. And you know, like, when I sing about moonshine, I'm not real proud about that, but I do know what averaging out, you know, how to do that and everything. It's, when I used to see Will down at Gore's Landing, he's always having a wonderful time down there. He'd always make do. You know, he had those kerosene lanterns, and of course, anytime he'd fill one, he'd wipe the kerosene on his jacket. And you know, people think, well, he smells like kerosene. Yeah. But he was the only one in the whole place, and mosquitoes weren't biting, you know? He knew what he was doing. Will knew. And he took a little lure and cast it down into the river and hooked the fish and just played it out till the fish got off, just to show he still could. Will wouldn't hurt anything like that. And I remember when he first went to Gore's Landing, Cubby and them were trying to get him to check in this place and go on this macrobiotic diet, or is that how you say it? I'm a cracker, folks. I spit these words out funny sometimes. And he lasted at that a couple of weeks, and then he's back at the Aquawaha. But he had a lot of this healthy food there with him. I pulled up, he had some lettuce and pineapple and all kinds of stuff like that down there to eat, and mandarin oranges and stuff like that. And as soon as I got out of the truck, he said, did you bring any cigarettes? And I had a carton of Camels for him, and that was it. They pushed all the food out of the way, and we sat down and smoked a pack of cigarettes. And he told me what he'd been writing and who he'd been talking to. And the fishermen up there, a lot of them didn't know him by name. They knew who he was. And when Margaret and all of us went down there to spread his ashes in the Aquawaha, there were several families of people who had come straight out there from work and brought their kids with them. And we didn't know these people, but they had met Will down there on weekends and stuff. And, you know, they just happened to see something in the paper about him or something and realized that's who he was, and they just wanted to come back out there. And it was special to me, and I've been back there many times. And my wife, Jenny, was not my wife back during all the years with Will, and she didn't have the chance to meet him. So I took her to Gore's Landing to show her where we put Will. And y'all ever seen a hawk on the ground? I've never seen one on the ground. I've seen them on every type of tree there is, but I've never seen one. I've even seen them on top of a picnic table taking chicken, you know, out of a bucket. But when Jenny and I went to turn into Gore's Landing, there's a big old red-tailed hawk right down on the ground. And after we drove by, it flew off. And when we got on down to the landing, there was a deer across the river. And the second time we went there, there were some butterflies of all that park. They followed us everywhere we went. And I knew that Will's got it pretty good. But yeah, we've got a bond between all of us that Will started. He promoted that Florida songwriter. You know, what have you written about Florida? And now, look at Frank and Ann Thomas. You know, they go all over the state to take people to do these Florida shows and stuff like that, and they're so caught up in it now. What have you written about Florida? Well, why don't you write about this? They'll call up people that they met at folk festivals that live down in a certain area and say, yeah, you know, down in there around such and such time something happened there. You know, you ought to read up on that and write a song about it. That'd probably be a pretty good song, you know. And next thing you know, they're on Frank and Ann's radio program with a couple of Florida tunes. But Will was a big push behind Florida songwriters. And so many of us, because of the small commercial market we play, have to do a lot of gigs 200 miles from home and get back, you know, in the night sometime in order to go to a day job first thing in the morning. Many times I found myself headed back from St. Augustine to Tampa at 3 or 4 in the morning, you know, just to get back in Tampa in time to shower and go back to work, you know. And it was one of those nights I was cruising along, and the night went crazy. The fog rolled in on me and everything else. And so I pulled over and started to write a little poem about it. We call this Augustine Farewell, and I always close at the middle top with it. But I'm going to start closing with a lot more, because there's a lot of people out there that understand that there's a lot more than money that makes us do these things. 3 o'clock in the morning, the fog it slowly creeps. The oldest town in this country lies more or less asleep. Lord knows I love Augustine, an old city by the sea. The crowd is kind and my music works, it means the world to me. Sing my songs of Florida, each one a part of my life. Sometimes the same wind fills your sails, can cut you like a knife. Damn sure ain't the money or thoughts of becoming a star. $300 for 200 miles to play a $1,000 guitar. once the course is set, you stick right to it. Where the audience is out in front, when your back's up against the wall. I cross the Tomoka, the fog so thick, no light from the stars above. Marianne and Glenn are in the dashboard again, telling me I am loved. I can well see Sandra's face up on the White Spring stage, singing Angel from Montgomery as my mind turns back the page. I think about Daddy Will. Simple things will never repay. I was young and only knew 3 chords. He pushed me along my way. Played for folks on the high road. I played for some on relief. Doctors and lawyers, preachers and teachers, and even an Indian chief. Got to pay your dues to play music. Heard this all my life and I know it's true. But the chorus was set, so we stuck right to it. Just remember, there's a lot of love in what we do. There's a lot of love in what we do. From each of us to all of you, we do love you. Thank you all so much, and let's keep Will's memory alive. Let's get it into schools. Let's get people educated about what Florida really is. Thank you so much.